Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week. And halfway through, we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars. We spun it off. Da-da-da-da! We're at 150.
Can you believe we've done 150 of these?
And you keep watching, so we keep doing them. So if you want to get a question in, how do you do it?
Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out asking for questions. Once we gather them, the post is deleted and we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
We get it. You hate Consumer Reports. Joking, but not really. But who can we trust for reliability of new and used autos? I think most of us buy a vehicle based on how it makes us feel anyway. Love the show.
Well, that's how you should buy a car.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, I mean, you got to look at a bunch of different factors. I think you look at a brand's history and have they historically been a reliable brand. Anecdotal too. Speaking to friends and family, have they had Hondas forever and they're happy with them, or Toyotas or Mazdas or whatever it is. And so there's that. You look at Consumer Reports as a sort of a guideline. You look at JD Power as a guideline. And after that, I don't know.
Well, there are a few that I've actually used. Repair Pal, you may have heard us.
Yeah, but Repair Pal is
them.
It's quite vague, though.
No, they get into some details. I See Cars and then Car MD. I think all of these studies are great, but I don't think that you should just rely only on one study, and you should look at a variety of them. And then also drill down, like Consumer Reports, they may put out a study and say that the brand is great, but there might be a vehicle within that brand that's not reliable. So I think that you have to dig a little bit deeper. I also find forums to be quite good.
Yeah.
I mean, honest people.
Yeah, the problem with forums, I've been on forums forever, is that people only bitch on forums. They don't ever write, by the way, I woke up this morning and drove to work and my car was great. No, you never hear that. They just say, I got a piece of crap and it did this. So that's what you get on forums. So I understand what you're saying, but you can ask questions as a newbie. You can go on a Facebook group and say, hey, I'm thinking of buying a blah, 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 blah. Is it being reliable? And we'll get honest feedback. So that is quite good. But one of the things I always talk about is often vehicles that have been in the market for a long period of time that are relatively unchanged, they kind of getting it right in the manufacturing process. Now, we lived one of those, Andrea, where it didn't quite work out. We bought a 7 Series that was made in the very last month of production of that model. So it had been made for 7 years. And the last month, when I saw that, I go, oh, it was built in May? I'm like, wow, that's great. Not good.
And I do agree that forums can be negative, but if I do find that people also chime in and say, no, I haven't had that problem. No, the vehicle's been great for me. And I want to go back to Consumer Reports and saying, you know, they basically put Subaru as their #1 brand. And but they even said, look, Subaru has used many of the same components for many, many years. So although they might do a new Crosstrek, it still has all those same components that are used in other of their models.
I said, when we saw the Crosstrek at the auto show, and I was like, I said to the PR guy, I said, is this new? Because it looks like the last one. He goes, no, it's all new. From the wheels up, it's all new. And I'm like, it looks like the last one. I see a new one on the road, and I have to really look hard. Is that the new one?
Or maybe color. Then you go, oh, okay, well, that color was new. Or, you know, something like that. They would go, oh, yeah. Or you look inside, and you see that it has the larger touchscreen. So you go, that's the new one.
Yeah, so it's not a guarantee, you know, like those people that bought Toyota Tundras, they're having to have their engines replaced. They bought into a brand identity, which maybe didn't work or wouldn't have worked for them. And then sometimes you can be like us and by the very last month of production and the car wasn't good. So sometimes you just got to go roll the dice.
And you know, when we were at the 4Runner Drive event, I asked Toyota, I said, look, Tacoma had a slew of problems. What about this 4Runner? They feel that they've really ironed it out for 4Runner. So let's hope, you know, it'll be okay.
I think Tacoma was only the transmission, but the Tundra had more, you know.
Good stuff, kids. I like it when you call us kids.
I like that.
I've been sold on the Toyota Crown Signia since watching your review and countless others. I'm focusing on the 26 for any minor tweaks. such as possible plug-in, 40-40-20 back seat, etc. The question, how far in 25 would you guess it would be released? Thanks much, George from Chicago.
Any day now, I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
I said this in a, excuse me, a previous Questions, Coffee and Cars. They start releasing the next model year, maybe even in August and September, depending on the vehicle. And others, they wait until the actual calendar year. I don't think you're going to see any changes. Maybe color choices, but I think the back seat isn't changing.
No, I agree. And from what I've heard, there is no plug-in hybrid coming. I know with the RX for that next model year, they actually waited until the fall to bring out any specs. So you may have to wait a bit for that 2026 Signia, but we don't expect a lot of changes.
Oh, sorry, I'm misunderstanding. I thought you meant the 2025.
No.
So you're talking about next year. Yeah, it could
Yeah.
be. It could be January of next year.
Could be.
Before they do it. You don't know.
But typically sometime in the fall, around October, November.
Okay, I was thinking they're wondering what this current model year was announced.
no.
So they start, like I said, they start in the summer and it goes right through until the actual calendar year.
That's right. Why does it seem so often that warranty periods in Canada include unlimited miles, as opposed to the US where they're always a combination of time and miles? Actually, the only brand, and maybe you recently watched our CX-90 review, Mazda is the only manufacturer in Canada that does unlimited mileage, which is wonderful. The warranty in the U.S. typically better because they will give you
Maintenance.
yeah.
Like we review all of
Complimentary
these
maintenance.
mainline cars, for example, Toyota, which is one of the biggest, they do 2 years of complimentary maintenance. You know what brand gives complimentary maintenance in Canada outside of BMW? I think it's BMW and Cadillac. None of them.
No.
So yeah, you get the the first couple of oil changes or what have you included.
Yep.
We don't get that. But to your point, we do get the unlimited kilometers in Canada. It would be great for somebody that is in sales, does a lot of driving, or does a heavy commute. That wouldn't be a bad brand to do that with.
But I would say warranty in the U.S. with that complimentary scheduled maintenance is more often than not. The brands have to be competitive with each other, but Mazda in Canada is the only one with unlimited miles. For a general automobile enthusiast, which North American auto show would you recommend to attend if you could only pick one? Which one would you pick?
Start spreading the news. We're leaving today. New York, baby.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's the best auto show in the U.S. is because you're in New York City.
I can also tie in some shopping for shoes while we're there.
Forget the cars. Just go to New York.
New York is great. I find that Chicago, which we're going for the first time.
Well, we have to
soon.
wait until we go.
Yes, we do. But there's always these new reveals in Chicago. It seems like there's a lot of action. One thing that one show I really like, just because it's easy to get around, I said this the other day, is the LA Auto Show.
Yeah, LA is good too.
So
I mean,
good.
I'm just like, I have been going to auto shows for 30 years, and it is my least favorite part of this job is going to auto shows. And a lot of people are like, "Ooh, you get to go and see all the cars first." It's a gong show.
It's chaotic.
It's chaos, and you're fighting with all of these people, all of these looky-loos, and all of these really wannabes that are just sucking up the space. I hate it, and you got to huff around all day and.
I don't hate it like Zach hates it, but I do find when we do all those first look reviews that it's a bit chaotic because people are walking in front of the camera, they're talking loudly, and you know what? You just have to suck it up and do it. We go on media day.
Yes.
And so...
The general public is not there.
No, it can be somewhat challenging.
Yeah, but they let everybody in.
Out.
So here's the state of auto shows. So before, you used to have to put in your credentials and they go, well, who are you? What's your circulation? How many viewers do you have? Are you a real media outlet? Blah, 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 blah. LA Auto Show now is like, do you want to come? Okay, come on in. They didn't really qualify anybody. It was just like, are you coming for the media? Yeah, okay, here's your badge. Come to the show. But I'm looking forward to going to the Chicago Auto Show, Andrea.
Me too.
Because I am looking forward to having that big-ass deep dish pizza.
Are you?
Not at the auto show. I'm hoping
No.
we're going out for pizza.
Probably.
I
That
don't
would be
know.
a big thing.
We're going with a
maybe.
brand. Well, we're not going to tell you yet, but you'll see
Yeah.
the video next week.
We're super excited.
And I'm going to have to find some pizza. And the other one is the hot dog, is well known in Chicago.
Yeah.
And you do not even show that hot dog to a ketchup bottle.
Nope.
When you get a hot dog, well, if you're from Chicago, you know this. You just ketchup and hot dogs, negative.
Nope.
It's mustard. They put all of these tasty treats on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely, one day I'll have pizza. Second day I'll have a hot dog. And each night I'll have a Lipitor. For the cholesterol.
Oh my gosh. You know, when we were in Daytona, I actually had a hot dog.
It was so odd to see Andrew eating a hot dog.
And I had it with mustard. I didn't even do ketchup. I didn't need it. I love mustard.
So a big part of where the auto show is why we like it.
And the Vancouver Auto Show, by the way, we were there last year, and a lot of brands didn't participate, but more are coming this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that is nice to see. I know some of you from Vancouver complained. You did direct message us and say, ugh, Vancouver
prepared.
just didn't have enough brands on display. So it sounds like it's going to be better.
Wait for the Zach and Andrea onslaught. If you live in the Vancouver area, you're going to see these mugs on TV.
You are.
Every commercial break. Come to the Vancouver Auto Show. So they hired us to be the
Face,
the spokespeople for the ads. So just be prepared.
And
it's
also
going to be
radio.
a Zach and Andrea overload.
You guys are going to be sick of us. We're going to bombard you with radio ads and TV ads. Well, I watch a local channel in the morning, and I was working on my laptop, and I'm listening to the news, and then it was like, oh, I know
That's
that
me.
voice. Yeah, it was funny.
And who's that handsome fellow who she's with?
Hello from Manitoba. I read an article the other day saying that Subaru is discontinuing sales of the Solterra in Canada. Doesn't every brand have to have an electric vehicle, or they are charged dollars for every gas model sold? Yes. So they're in Canada, they're not getting rid of the Solterra. What they are not doing is bringing in a 2025 model in Canada because they still have 2024s left that
They've
they
got
need
a
to
whole
sell.
yard full of them. So the problem is the Solterra is based on the same platform as the BZ4X or the BZ4X from
That's right.
Toyota. The same car, really. And the price of the Subaru is higher, and no one's buying them because people are smart, Andrea. They go, oh, a second, it's their same car. I can get it cheaper over at Toyota. And a lot of, I remember we were talking to somebody in our industry. We were at an event, and they said, oh, that thing they can't give them away in the U.S.
Yeah.
They're everywhere in Vancouver. The thing is selling like crazy here in Canada. In the United States, not the same way. But Subaru, no, they got to get rid of all those 24s.
So it is unfortunate. In Canada, it starts at under $60,000, but the BZ4X starts at under $50,000.
People are smart.
Plus, Toyota's done a thing with Uber, and they're just all over the road here. They're pricing it aggressively, and people are buying
Also,
them.
they have great lease rates. I think that you can get like basically zero. I think what's going to happen in Canada with the getting rid of the EV rebate, and who knows what's going to happen with the election with the if there's EV mandates are going to be rolled back. The dealer associations are asking for that to happen. I think we're going to head to the same model they have in the United States, which is all payment lease based. And so in the United States, there are incredible leases available on electric cars. Some of them are like so good, you're like, why wouldn't you get one? And I think we're going to head down that same path where they can just offer cheap leases. I think that's what's going to end up coming.
And in some cases, you know, if you take a look at your monthly payments and then you throw gas in, it ends up being less expensive per month to drive an EV. And then you can just flip through it every 3 or 4 years, unless you don't want a payment and you like to buy out your cars.
Yeah, but the problem is they don't work for everybody.
They don't work
People
for
live in
everybody.
apartments. They can't plug them in. You know, you live park on the street. You can't plug them in. I mean, they're really electric cars are absolutely ideal for people who live in suburban settings where you've got that driveway in front of your house and your garage there, they're perfect for that.
And yes, you're right. With the ZEV mandate in Canada, manufacturers are charged. If they do not hit their target, their EV target, they have to sell so many models in a year, then they are charged for gas
But
models.
that's what the dealers associations and actually the manufacturers associations are asking to be culled.
Yeah. Thoughts on which engine would be more efficient with towing? Looking at the 2025 Explorer. With the 2.3 liter EcoBoost versus the V6 3 liter EcoBoost, I'm wondering if the larger engine may be more fuel efficient when towing than the 4-cylinder, as it has more power. Towing with my currently leased 2.3 liter Explorer halves my fuel efficiency.
Well, you're going to get that anyway. When you have a turbocharged engine, whether it's the 3 liter or the 2.3, you're asking it to do a lot more work. And the one thing I always say about people when they're towing, you have to say, okay, it's only when towing that you get horrible fuel economy, and you're not towing very often. So you have to look at the costs throughout the whole year. So it might be horrible with your 2.3 liter, but when you're towing, when you're not towing, it's actually going to be more efficient. And they're both at 5,000 pounds, right?
Yes. And look, if I was towing often, if I'm towing a lot, I am definitely going to go with a V6 for longevity. So when you look at the fuel economy for both, I mean, it's not a huge difference on the highway. The 2.3 liter EcoBoost, 8.7 liters per 100 kilometers, 27 miles per gallon. And the V6, 9.3 and 25 miles per gallon on the highway, which is where you're doing
ideal situations, Andrea. That's the problem with fuel economy ratings, is it's all perfect.
Yes, but
in real world, when you're putting your foot into it, the V6 is going to use more fuel. But back to how much you tow. If you're towing your boat from your house to your cottage in the spring and then bringing it back in the fall, if it's only twice a year, just stick with the 2.3 liter. If you're towing every week, then maybe something else.
Yeah, and then I would go V6. But also these turbos, when you put your foot into a turbo and you're towing, it loves gas too. So that is a tricky one. Is freight and destination supposed to be included in the MSRP in Canada? I see many dealerships adding it on after the MSRP. Yes, it is confusing in Canada now. When you look online, it shows one price. Now that price includes MSRP with freight, PDI, and fees.
And by the way, the sales authorities on each province in Canada basically state that the dealers have to advertise an all-in price, and if it's not advertised, they're not allowed to charge it. So if you look at the fine print of a dealer ad, we'll take a Ford of Canada ad out of it, like the new Explorer. Take that out of it.
Yeah.
Bob's Ford in Bob Cajun. That kind of rhymes, doesn't it? Bob's Ford and I wonder if there is a Bob's Ford and Bob Cajun.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe it's owned by the same guy who owns Loblaws. Bob blah blah. That's like a joke from when I was a kid.
That is like such a dad joke.
Yeah. Do you know the president of Loblaws? Bob blah blah. Anyway, Bob's Ford and Bob Cajun, he has to advertise that Explorer, including the price, $45,000, say, plus the freight, plus any fees that they want to charge you. And they have to actually put that in there, because if you go in there and say, well, it wasn't advertised with that price, then you have a leg to stand on.
Including an air conditioning price. So the dealership is right when you're talking to whoever you spoke to at the dealership. It is MSRP plus freight, PDI, and fees.
So all the videos we do are vital stats. And we always say it includes freight, PDI, and fees, because that's the way it's supposed to be legally posted for dealerships in Canada. The United States is still MSRP, and the province that led all of this was Quebec. They're the ones years ago said it has to be an all-in price, because that's the real price of the car.
It is.
You know, what drives me crazy, Andrea, is why do we have an industry where you buy the product and then they charge you a fee to get it to market?
Yeah.
And when you go to Loblaws, by the way, if you're American, Loblaws is a big chain, biggest grocer in Canada. Grocery, it's like, Albertsons, is that what it is? Anyway, so you go there and you get your Campbell soup, When you go, how many, even how much Campbell soup is anymore? $1.59?
No, hon, it's not $1.59
How much is it?
anymore. Well, in Canada, it could be, depending on the
Can
one
of
that
tomato
you get,
soup?
$2.99.
What?
Maybe $3.99.
You can tell who does the shopping in our house. It ain't me. So
can
wait,
say
I
a
just
quick
want to
thing?
finish my
we
thought.
Went and got, he did come with me one time, and I got those little nugget
bag of potatoes?
And I said, wow, grab a pack of those. They're on sale. That's a good price for these. And he was like, that's a good price?
I remember in my bachelor days, that was the cheapest thing in the store were potatoes. They grow in dirt, and they're covered in dirt when you pick them up. Anyway, so when you go to the big grocer, Loblaws, run by Bob, they don't scan the tomato soup from Campbell's at $1.50. I'm going with $1.59, Andrea, and say that's $1.59 plus service charge, plus freight. Well, we had to pay a guy in a truck to get it here. Like, why do we do that? We should just get rid of it, which I guess is kind of where we're headed with this.
I was going to say, don't ever go on the Price is Right, because you're just not going to
I'm telling you, Andrea, when I was a kid, I love Bob Barker, and I love Barker's Beauties. And and I nailed it. I crushed it with the Price is Right.
So did I.
Yeah,
but
I
prices have changed.
Prices have changed.
Yeah, everything has gone up.
All right, we're all done, Andrea.
Okay.
We're all done. There you go.
Zach says we're all done. Mm-hmm. We're all done.
Well, it's running long.
Yeah, it is running long.
All right, so there you go. Thanks for watching. How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out on Instagram asking for questions. Once we gather them, the post is deleted and we start the show. 150 today.
I thought this was a good one. We finished strong, Andrea.
We finished strong.
So write to me below. What's the name of the dealership in Bob Cajun? Is it Bob's?
Is there really a Bob's?
All right. Thanks for watching.
See you next time.